Hey, what's up, budget gamers? Just in time for Christmas, or maybe not, depending on when you're watching this, we've got another AliExpress GPU test, this time with RGB. Let's find out, does it game? So the card in question this time is the Mllse RTX 2060 Super in a stylish white colorway, which is available for $160 at the time of upload, supposedly with a warranty, and could even be at your door by Christmas morning. It comes in slick, if nondescript packaging, although looking it over, the Nvidia logo is conspicuously absent, probably because Mllse are not an official board partner, telling me that this is a remanufactured card. Even the green on the packaging isn't actual Nvidia green, which is a little suspect. And while it might seem logical to compare this card to a first-party RTX 2060 Super, we're not going to do that here. I'll save you the time and say flat out this card is about 8% slower than a first-party 2060 Super, owing in large part to a locked power budget of 160 watts, making this one ultimately somewhere between a regular 2060 and a 2060 Super, but with 8 gigs of VRAM. Instead, we're going to compare this to a card that it would be replacing, like one of these. There are heaps of 4GB cards out there like these, and if you're shopping for an upgrade on a $160 budget, it's probably one of these that you're looking to replace. For our testing, we'll be using the fastest of them, the GTX 1650 Super, conveniently also the last card from Nvidia at the $160 price point that was worth buying. Quick look at the usual test bench specs and we're off to the benchmarks. Starting off with Call of Duty Warzone, a game that is still a bug-plagued money grab, and which crashed shortly after this, claimed it was updating and then refused to launch Warzone properly ever again. You can see some performance data in the upper left, but even better is that I was lucky enough to grab capture of the 2060 Super, giving me the absolute best experience I've ever had with the Modern Warfare reboots. Okay, griping aside, onto real benchmarks. We start for real with the important one, Fortnite. At 1080p, using the high preset with epic draw distance, the aging 4GB standard bearer does a remarkably good job, driving almost 80 FPS and keeping the 1% lows just above 60. However, the Mllse 2060 Super steals the show, with an average north of 120 FPS and a 1% low that exceeds the average of the 1650 Super. Halo Infinite, another tentpole esports title right now, again sees the 1650 Super seemingly punching above its weight as it delivers an average over 70 FPS, but it loses handily to the massively more powerful Mllse 2060 Super. This result is also a little deceptive, as 4GB cards like the 1650 Super have issues with rendering textures in this game and produce artificially high benchmark results, while also still getting walloped by the AliExpress 2060 Super. Forza Horizon 5 is exceptionally well optimized and highly charitable to older, lower tier hardware, but even this sees a huge performance delta between the two cards, with the Mllse 2060 once again delivering a minimum that exceeds, albeit barely, the average of the 1650 Super. Both are still playable, but the extra horsepower, doubled VRAM, and the addition of RT cores on the Mllse would let you push this game even more, looking better and still performing flawlessly. Moving over to the ARPG category, Horizon Zero Dawn still has the ability to demolish lower tier hardware, and this is no exception. Using the favorite quality preset with motion blur disabled, the little 1650 Super that could really can't here, failing to hit the 60 FPS cutoff in the canned benchmark. In contrast, the much more powerful Mllse 2060 Super comes in over 67% faster, delivering a near 100 FPS experience and leaving plenty of room to turn things up still further. Shadow of the Tomb Raider at the high preset is also no challenge for the Mllse card, as it serves up 130 FPS on average in the canned benchmark with a minimum frame rate of a nice round 100 FPS. With that much performance from the Mllse, you're free to turn up ambient occlusion, add ray traced shadows, and really turn this into a visual spectacle if you want, without sacrificing a solidly playable frame rate. Last but certainly not least, Starfield, and oof. If you have something like a 1650 Super or even a lower tier card, you are really not enjoying this experience at 1080p. FSR2 is enabled by default, but even with it, the 4GB card struggles mightily, while the Mllse, which could use DLSS if we wanted, has no problem cruising to a respectable and enjoyable 76 FPS on a short walk across the Martian surface. So there it is, the Mllse RTX 2060 Super. It's a cheap card with acceptable thermals and power draw, RGB that is a little basic, and it doesn't quite stack up against a first-party RTX 2060 Super. This card is not life-altering, unless your life currently involves an older 4GB or even 6GB graphics card, in which case this is an enormous step up. And because this card has the Turing NVENC encoder, it's a must-have card if you're an aspiring streamer on a budget. And on that very brief conclusion, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and we'll see you all in the next one.